Chapter 196. Part 4 of 5. Now we continue walking, I said, doing just that. We got lucky enough to avoid injuries this time, but I'd rather not risk hitting another invisible net and falling at an angle weird enough to break anything. It would take too much magic to heal. It should take another 15 or so minutes to get out at this rate, Ava said. We'll need to return to the first level to leave, though. I already see 2 barricades down there, so we'll wait until we're there to descend. Why didn't they barricade the other floors? Taya asked. Getting to the higher levels was difficult, Ava said. All the staircases were guarded and the elevators were welded shut. For a while, the mall area was the middle of a pitched battlefield. As ammo started running low, tensions started soothing. Still, those on higher floors usually managed to hold onto their positions despite everything. I'm surprised we don't see more bullet holes everywhere. If I was living here, I'd do my best to cover them up, I said. I wouldn't want to be reminded how I almost got killed every time I look around. Although I imagine at that point, almost getting killed was a daily occurrence anyway. Life was tough, Ava sighed. Some parts of me wished I had stayed with Artyom until the end. We would have died in the bunker regardless, but at least we wouldn't have been alone. Hope is what keeps people going, I said. And your hope of escape was the fire that pushed you both along. Would living a hopeless existence with no chance of a future really be that much better than dying a horrific, shitty death? Yes, Ava said with a nod. Even without hope, with Artyom by my side, I was able to cope. I'd rather die with mommy than completely alone, Taya said. Thanks for dragging me down with you. Especially if it was completely alone in a place like this. I guess love acts as a decent enough alternative to hope. I'll try to remember to ask Doppel which tastes better. I don't know why, but that made my filly giggle. I didn't want to know why, either, so I pointedly ignored it. So why did that make you giggle? Ava unfortunately asked. She really liked my lust, Taya said with another chuckle. I imagine it tastes better coming from someone more hormonal, I said. My lust is usually just background levels. It's probably much better when you're actually in heat. That's exactly what she said, Taya replied with a nod. Well, she didn't mention you at all, but she said the part about it tasting better when you're in heat. And you're just okay with this? Ava asked, looking down at me. She's as old as she's ever going to get, I said. I'm not going to refuse to let her use a part of her body, and I'm not going to take issue with the fact that she enjoys something everyone else enjoys. I will step in if I think she's going too far or if I don't approve of her partner, though. I told Doppel at some point that Taya was fair game, as long as she was using a body I would be okay with. And you don't see anything wrong with a mother and daughter sharing the same partner. Doppel doesn't count, Taya said. For 1, she's the maid. 2, she's a changeling. 3, she's sluttier than mommy. And 4, let me have this. I never knew it could feel that good when done right. I'll give you 3 out of 4, I said. Changelings do count and saying they don't is racist. Yeah, well, I learned from watching Twilight, she sarcastically replied. You both might be lost causes, Ava said. She honestly sounded super upset about that, which was a little surprising. There is no limit to God's forgiveness, last I recall, I said. If I got down on my knees to beg for forgiveness for my wicked ways and actually improved myself, I'd still get to go to heaven. But you don't want to. Both of you openly scorn the thought of it. Well, Taya said. We've met, what, 3 gods now? Hera, Athena, and Discord, I said with a nod. Plus Celestia, Luna, and Arachne. So that's 3 human gods, 2 pony gods, and the spider god. We also know Zeus and that Smith guy are out there, so that's another 2 human gods. Given the history we got from Athena, it seems clear to me that the Christian god was just a human hopped up on magic. Things just got lost in translation after several thousand years. When you factor in that there was also probably a few doses of discords meddling in the Bible, I honestly struggle to see how you can still believe. I'm pretty sure it's the sunk cost fallacy, but it's rude to assume. What's that? Taya asked. Let's say I start a company and put 2,000 bits into it. Everything goes well for 5 years and I expand, sinking another 2,000 bits in. Everything goes well for another 5 years and I expand again, this time putting in 4,000 bits. Suddenly things start going south. The company's too big, logistics are impossible even with the right people, and we've flooded the market beyond repair. This is where the fallacy comes into place. From an outside perspective, it seems easy to see that you should cash out while you can and retire. But from my perspective as the person who spent 15 years building a business, I don't want all of that time, money, and effort to go to waste. Instead of doing the right thing and quitting before I lose too much to recover, I go all in on a sinking building. In Ava's particular case, she spent her entire life believing in God, then she spent her much longer life begging for salvation from that same God who forsook her the first time. She's spent essentially an eternity believing, and to back out now, even though the possibility that she's wrong is incredibly high from any logical viewpoint, would be really difficult. Admitting all that effort spent believing and worshipping was effort wasted is too much. Oh, Taya said. Go fuck yourself, Ava very coldly replied. We continued our walk to the theme park in silence. When we got to the entrance, Taya cut a hole in the net for us and I used my wings to gently float us down. So what's in here? Taya asked. I see some scary looking birds. Last time I was here, this was a safe zone, I said. I ran into a friendly ghost clown who kept everything else away from me. If we run into him again, he is not to be harmed. I almost definitely owe him my life. Got it, Taya said with a nod. Popsy? Ava asked. I was kinda surprised she was still speaking to me, to be honest. Yep. Did you know him? I worked with him at the theme park, she said. I always loved watching him with the kids. He had a way of putting them at ease, even when things started going downhill. I'm happy to see his good soul survived intact. Well, let's go say hi, I said. Taya and I started walking. Ava followed behind like an obedient puppy. I never thought I'd see this place again, Ava said. At the moment, we were just passing through the ticketing booths. Once we passed through them, the birds finally took notice of us and started circling. Should I take them out? Taya asked. If it's hostile, kill it, I said. She grinned and her horn lit up. A large fireball lit up in the center of the largest mass of undead birds. It exploded outwards and knocked a huge chunk of them out of the sky. The rest scattered and started flying toward us separately. Taya started cackling as her horn lit up with a white light. A few seconds later, a huge lightning bolt shot out and connected with the closest bird. It chained to the next and the next and the next until all of them were tumbling from the sky, smoking. That's quite the light show, a new voice said. We both spun toward it, my hand going to my sword. Thankfully, it was just everybody's favorite clown, Popsy. What kind of guests have you found for me today, Ava? The kind who are lost and in a hurry, I'm afraid, she replied. Though it's so good to see you again. I really wish the two of you had stayed with us, he said with a sigh. Keeping the children smiling was a lot harder without you. And it would have been good to know your soul was at least resting among friends, rather than in an uncertain fate. I was alone for a very long time, until Navarone found me, Ava said, patting my head. I'm traveling with her now. We need to get out of the bunker. And to do that, you'll need to get through the theme park, he said with a nod. I'll show you all to a place you can rest for a little while. I'm sure getting here must have been hard on you. Not this time, I said. Though I'm grateful for the offer. Sure you don't want to show your filly some rides? Ava asked. Ponies have rides, too, Taya said. I don't know if I'd trust something so old. She talks. Popsy said, leaning forward with a grin. That's a neat trick. Little miss, are you interested in a career in showbiz? Between that light show and being able to talk, you could make a mint. But all ponies talk, Taya said, her head tilting. Why's that special? They don't when we're from, Ava said. Let's get going, I said. I don't want to risk Yvonne or the hunter catching up. They can't get too far into the theme park, Popsy said. We'll need to go farther before we're safe. Follow me. And so we followed the ghost clown of old. He seemed to be in a pretty good mood and was happy to talk with Ava about old times. Most of those times were about doing good things and being super happy. I decided not to write them down because it just made me more depressed about his fate. Since no one else is reading this, that shouldn't disappoint anyone. Right? This place really didn't seem all that bad at first, hey. Taya said. I figured things would have been awful from the start. We lived comfortably for over 10 years, Ava said. I was here longer, for about 15 years, Popsy added. Looking back, there were signs that things were going downhill, but... well, it's not like we could do anything but hope and pray. Don't speak to them about prayer, Ava bitterly replied. They'll just be mean to you. I could never be mean to Popsy, I said. He saved me without trying to snatch my body. Didn't you say you'd forgive me for that if I helped guide you? Ava asked. Probably. That seems like something I'd say. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I can't mention it every now and then, though. That's kinda mean, Mommy, Taya said. She seems miserable enough to be attached to someone like you. There's no need to rub it in her face. Fair enough, I guess. I'll try to cut back. Body snatch. Popsy slowly said. It was an accident. Ava said. I realized your vessel was empty, but I wasn't truly trying to take it over. You just died and I slipped in while poking you. Sure, ahoy. Whatever I guess. It doesn't sound like you've forgiven her, Popsy said. Of course she hasn't, Ava said. She never had any intention to from the start. She just says things to manipulate people and then hopes they forget about it afterwards. That's not true. I said. I just don't care about most people enough to remember my promises. Is that supposed to be better? Remember, this journey is about self-reflection and healing, I said. And admitting my problems is the first step, right? You should be happy that I've come this far. You might make a pretty good clown, Popsy said. I love the audacity and how you can keep such a straight face. You'd be the perfect performer. Sorry, I'm already employed. Besides, I'm terrible with kids. Understatement of the year, Ava muttered. That's too bad, Popsy said. From what I could remember, we were just over halfway through the park. If you've changed your mind about resting, we could take a short break somewhere around here. At this point, we're completely safe. How do you feel, Taya? What's left after this? She asked. The medical area and the industrial area, Ava said. I know they both had their own sets of monsters. The medical area had super fucked up doctors who captured me and injected me with nanites, I said. I had a few visions in there about them doing human experiments on Ava. It was pretty spooky. No, they weren't, Ava said. I would remember. Not if the nanomachines took your memories, Popsy said. There were rumors about things like that. I never knew it was actually true, though. So we'll need to watch out for them, I said. Plus there's the slave master in the industrial place. All we need to do to defeat him is free his slaves by breaking the chains binding them. Magic will make that a breeze, assuming you feel up to it. I can do that with no issues, Taya said. But those doctors worry me. It might not be a bad idea to wait here for a few minutes to let me recuperate some magic. Take us somewhere she can sleep, I said. There won't be anywhere too comfortable, but I can do that, Popsy said with a nod. Right this way. We continued following him. His stride picked up, now that he had a more definite goal in mind. To my surprise, I realized he was leading us to a large Ferris wheel. Why are we heading toward that thing? I asked. The top is the safest place in the bunker, he said. You'll understand when you get there. I'll have to wait at the bottom, though. Weren't there also rumors about this Ferris wheel? Ava asked. Something about it being special. I started those, Popsy said. After so much time, it was the only ride that we could keep going. I began telling people it was blessed. That kept bringing people back, even when they were scared. As it turns out, the rumor I started turned out to be true. That may have been magic, I said. Have you heard of thought form? I'm a clown, little miss. If it doesn't have to do with making people smile, I don't know much about it. Turns out magic is a real thing. It acts on faith and belief. If everyone in the bunker believed the Ferris wheel was blessed, that blessed it. Everyone's belief is likely what's keeping this area safe even now. That sounds inspiring, but complete baloney, he said. I just got lucky with my rumor. We were finally standing in front of the lowest bucket. Instead of being a shitty two-seater, it had a bench that followed the walls. He opened the door for us and bowed. Go on ahead, my ladies. The view from the top will be worth it. I'll stop it while you're up there and give you a few hours to recuperate. How's that sound? It sounds good to me, I said, walking onto the thing. It began shaking in a way that worried me a little, but it didn't fall. Taya joined me a moment later and Popsy swung the door closed. Ready? He asked, walking over to the control panel. I carefully took my seat. When the bucket steadied itself, Taya eased herself up on the other side. Go for it, I said. He pulled a lever and started waving as the ancient machine roared to life. After it had a few seconds to warm up, it started shaking and finally spinning. Dust and rust started falling around us, though none made it around the little roof covering us. So why are we going all the way up here? Taya asked. I'm sure there's a reason, I said. Being up here will let us see anything coming, anyway. Despite sitting unused for nearly an eternity, the machine still moved pretty quickly. We began slowing down before we got where we were going. When we finally ground to a halt, our bucket shook a few times before going still. After a few seconds of silence, I blinked and appeared outside under a bright and sunny sky. What? I said, looking around. Wait, what's going on? Taya asked. After a few more seconds, a third person appeared sitting next to me. This was a human woman about my size who I almost immediately realized was Ava. Whoa, I have a body, she said, looking at her hands in wonder. What is this? I guess this is what he meant, I said, finally looking down. Everything under us looked like a completely normal theme park, including a few hundred other people wandering around. Even the Ferris wheel looked new. It's like a real theme park. This is crazy. Taya said. Did you see anything like this last time? No. I did get on a few rides, but I didn't have any visions while here. I finally wrapped an arm around Ava's shoulder and leaned into her. Well, we're here to rest. Might as well get comfy. Allow me to give you what small comfort I may, Ava replied, grabbing me and carefully pulling me down so that my head was on her lap. You've had to walk all this way. It's the least I can do. I bet your hair's gonna end up braided, Taya said with a cute little grin. It'll be good payback for all the times you do it to me. I thought you'd be happy your mother was doing your hair, Ava said. Nav seems to rely on me for it a lot, so I'm usually happy to assist. I do believe it might be wise, in this situation. It's likely we'll run into more opponents, and having your hair braided and safely tucked away is better than letting them grab it. Agreed, I said. Go for it. I'm gonna zone out and let my mind rest. After going through so much of the coma, I need some time to reflect. And I'll try to sleep a little, Taya said. It's not really all too comfy, but I'll manage. I suppose I'll try to enjoy having a body while it lasts, Ava said. And I can do without any naughty comments, thank you. Your hands feel nice in my hair, so I'll be nice. She chuckled and we all fell silent. Some time later, the machine jolted back to life. I sighed and pulled myself off Ava's juicy lap. It's a shame she's straight. And also a ghost, I guess. Taya didn't wake up immediately, so I poked her with a foot a few times until she sat up. Right as she did so, the sunny sky disappeared and we entered the gloom of the bunker once more. Ugh, we're still here, she said. Gross. We don't have much further to go, Ava said. Taya, shield, now. She only looked surprised for a second before her horn lit up. It was just in time for an arrow to bounce off. Thankfully, I thought to look down to make sure it was actually Popsy waiting for us. Turns out, Yvonne figured out how to work the controls. I hadn't seen the hunter, but I figured they had to be working together to get to us. Where's Popsy? Ava asked. What did they do to him? Forget him, what are they gonna do to us? I asked. Nothing, Taya said. Her horn lit up brighter and Ivan's arms and legs fell off. She grabbed them with magic and threw them away. Where's the hunter? I looked over in the direction the arrow came from, but it was too dark to see far. There were also tons of things for him to hide behind. I don't see him. This Ferris wheel isn't going to stop with no one manning the controls, so we're gonna need to jump when it gets to the bottom. We have to do it at the same time to stay under the shield. Got it, Taya said. Just tell me when. I stood and carefully got onto one of the benches. Taya followed, making the bucket tilt uncomfortably. We were finally getting to where Yvonne was trying to do the worm, so I said, now. The two of us jumped. I pulled my sword out and impaled Yvonne as we both hit the ground. Another arrow bounced off the shield as I pulled my sword out. Taya shot a light toward where it came from, but we couldn't see him. Why are they working together? Taya asked. I thought you said they fought each other last time. They did. But this time, we're kicking the bunker's ass. The old rules might not apply anymore. Incinerate what's left of Yvonne and then we'll continue to medical. What about Popsy? Ava asked. What about him? This is a memory fragment, not the real thing. I'd certainly like to see him again, but it's not like this is the real him. Mommy's like that all the time, Taya said as Ivan's body started to burn yet again. She even bragged about how she killed me and her family in a dream world. I wasn't bragging, I was just stating a fact. When there was nothing left of the butcher but ash, I said, point the way, Ava. Are you not concerned with the hunter? She asked. He's a hunter. I'm sure he could hide in this place for days while we look for him. There's no way he can get through Taya's shield, so we'll just kill him if we get the opportunity and ignore him otherwise. I could just blow up everything, Taya said with a big grin. That would waste too much magic. Ava, let's get moving. Ugh, fine. She pointed the right way and off we went. I can't believe you're just going to abandon him. It's not him. We've already been over this. Forgive me for not being completely heartless. No. Get your shit together. She grabbed the collar around her neck and yanked on it as hard as she could, presumably trying to break it or something. It was exactly as successful as I thought and she finally let go with a groan. I hate you. Join the club, I replied. Should you work on not being heartless? Taya asked. I think it's a pretty useful trait, personally. But it does get old sometimes outside of combat. End of part 4.